when we start the process of exposing patients to all active agents on this journey in the palliative setting, the first-line treatment choices are important. And we direct our first-line treatment based on patient characteristics, tumor characteristics, goals of therapy, goals of care, a lot of factors that we take into account. One of the most critical factors is how much treatment does a patient need? How threatening is the disease in terms of how intense does the treatment need to be? Is the patient threatened by tumor load? Do we need to really shoot for a rapid and dramatic response that would potentially really turn things around for the patient? Then, of course, molecular parameters come around, and this is probably the more interesting part of the discussion about first-line therapy. We look for RAS mutational status, BRAF mutational status, MSI status or a mismatch repair deficiency status, which can select patients potentially for immunotherapy even early on. And sidedness is a big issue because we know that right-sided tumors, and the definition between right and left-sided tumors is a little bit vague. Where does the transverse colon really belong to? But most commonly, the definition is anything proximal to the splenic flexure is considered right-sided, and distal from the splenic flexure would be left-sided. Right-sided tumors do not benefit from EGF receptor antibodies, at least not in first-line treatment. That's where we have the data, first, perhaps second-line treatment. So even a RAS, BRAF wild-type tumor, which we normally think have a chance to respond to EGF receptor antibodies like panitumumab and cetuximab, I would not treat a right-sided tumor, at least not in first-line and second-line, with an EGF receptor antibody added to chemotherapy. So these parameters come into play. Left-sided tumors, however, when we normally do a BRAF and RAS mutational analysis, if they are RAS and BRAF wild type, left-sided tumors do benefit from EGF receptor antibody therapies in first-line treatment based on the European and an American trial. So my standard of care is to use FOLFOX or FOLFIRI plus panitumumab or cetuximab in frontline therapy. For the right-sided tumors or for the RAS and BRAF mutant tumors, I use bevacizumab. Now, there are more targeted agents that really come about and really now target the BRAF V600E mutant tumors specifically. We have data in the second and third-line setting, not yet in the first-line setting. But this is a field which is rapidly evolving. The patients with MSI high tumors, mismatch repair deficient tumors, they might actually benefit from frontline immunotherapy, which really would take the chemotherapy, at least initially, out of the equation. Frontline choices are more granular than they have ever been. And I do believe what I see here, especially in the United States, that most patients receive FOLFOX plus bevacizumab as their frontline treatment. That is not correct anymore. We need to really look for molecular parameters, patient need, how intense does the treatment need to be, sidedness factors, goals of therapy. FOLFOX plus bevacizumab, this one-size-fits-all, is no longer appropriate for the majority of patients. There are patients where I would actually select a chemotherapy triplet as backbone for the addition of EGF receptor antibodies or bevacizumab. Patients with high tumor volume where we really need a rapid response, and if patients' bilirubin is still intact because irinotecan use really depends on normal liver function. And patients where I know that the prognosis is normally quite poor. BRAF V600E mutant tumors are quite aggressive. Now, there are conflicting data whether those patients with these aggressive tumors really benefit from a triplet like FOLFOXIRI or FOLFIRINOX. Depends on what kind of regimen you're choosing. But I do believe it makes sense that biologically aggressive tumors should be treated with a more aggressive regimen to counteract the biologic behavior. So in my clinical practice, I use FOLFOXIRI in patients where I would like to see a rapid and reliable response. And I do add panitumumab to this treatment, which I was initially hesitant to do because we were worried about toxicities, but we've now learned to manage these toxicities. And a combination of FOLFOXIRI plus panitumumab in a left-sided RAS-RAF wild-type tumor gives us response rate over 90%. That is remarkable. So we should not miss the opportunity if we find the right patient where we need a rapid and reliable response. Within this context of continuum of care, maintenance therapy approaches play a major role. In particular, when we start out with an oxaliplatin-based regimen, FOLFOX, bevacizumab, for instance, and we know that patients need to stop oxaliplatin, need to even before they have progression of disease, because we manage neurotoxicity. We actually do not want to treat to neurotoxicity but stop oxaliplatin at a time point before patients run into issues with hopefully not permanent neurotoxicity. So one of the strategies that I personally employ is when I start with FOLFOX, for instance, plus bevacizumab, or FOLFOXIRI plus bevacizumab, I take oxaliplatin out after 8 cycles, meaning 2 months of therapy, and then use a fluoropyrimidine plus bevacizumab maintenance therapy based on data that we've seen, randomized data that shows that this maintenance therapy can actually delay progression of disease. And this ties again into this continuum of care that we want to expose patients continuously to well-tolerable treatment using the least amount of treatment necessary to control the disease in a palliative setting.